Fixing skinny fat isn't as simple as just moving more and eating less. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to fix the skinny fat physique as quick as possible, step by step, so that you can create a head-turning transformation just like my client Reece did in less than 12 months. And to make sure this is no BS and straight to the point, I'm going to show you exactly what we did while showing you proof as we go along. So step one, we need to eliminate what is not currently working. Now, before I met Reece, he was actually already working with a personal trainer in a gym, and he was getting the same typical stuff you'd expect. A bunch of cardio, jumping on the treadmill, cardio circuits, just going on any weight resistance machine that's actually available at the time, and just being told generic things for their diet like, oh, cut out the carbs, avoid sugar, mate, have an oily fish once per week. And then they smacked him on the butt and sent him home. Now, 4 months into doing this, Reece realized what he was doing wasn't actually working. He wasn't getting anywhere, he wasn't seeing any results, and he still had all the body fat he didn't want. So he stopped working with his personal trainer and felt more frustrated than ever. Then shortly after working with the personal trainer, he came across some of my client transformations online. He reached out, we had a little bit of a chat, then he pulled the trigger and started to work with me one-to-one. And once he told me what his personal trainer was doing beforehand, I actually then said to him, look mate, let's not do any cardio, we're not going to do any meal plans, we're going to keep it very simple. And at the start he was a little bit hesitant because obviously that kind of goes against the grain of what the fitness industry talks about, but it wasn't working for him, so I said let's stop it instead of trying to do everything at once. Which brings me on to step two. So the first thing we did with Reece was to make sure that his numbers were precise. Now when I'm talking about numbers, I'm talking about his calories and his macronutrients. Now if he just ate less and did a load of cardio, he would lose muscle as well as fat because he'd been a massive calorie deficit. He's not eating or training in a way to sustain muscle tissue, so he basically become a smaller version of skinny fat, which isn't really fixing the problem, and he did want to build some muscle. But then on the flip side, if we went onto a bulk, all the areas that he already currently has that are high body fat that he dislikes, like his moobs, his lower back and his belly, would only get bigger, and he wouldn't necessarily even see the muscle that he's gaining. Not to mention at the end of that, he'd have a massive cut waiting for him that he probably wouldn't want to do, and if he couldn't do it the first time, now he's gained more body fat, it's going to be even more difficult. So we started instead with a recomposition. Now just to clarify, it's still kind of like a cut, but there's a few little changes which I'm going to break through right now. Now with a recomposition, we want to aim for a smaller calorie deficit, somewhere between 300 to about 500. Any more than that, if you're going into the thousands of calories deficit, you're more likely to go catabolic and lose muscle. So if you're skinny fat and you don't want to lose muscle, I wouldn't recommend going much lower than 500, at least to start with. Now to make sure we got these numbers right, I used my nutritional blueprint to make sure that Reece knew his numbers exactly. You can download that for yourself for free in the bio so you can know your numbers. If I'm honest with you, that's the most important thing you should take away from this video, because that will save you a lot of time. And me personally, it took me about 7 years before I realized, hey, I should probably know what my numbers are. And as soon as I got my numbers right, I was able to get my own transformation just by getting those numbers right over a long period of time. So we worked out Reece's numbers. He had his calories set. We set his macros so that it was high protein, mid carb and high fats. This way he knew exactly how many calories he needed each day. He was able to be flexible with his food, which makes it a lot more sustainable. And we could predictably lose body fat every single week. Now I said to you, as we're going through this, I'm going to show you proof. I'm just going to pull up the account, Reece's account over here. Okay, so we've got Reece's account over here. I've gone back to October 2021. And as you can see, he was weighing around just under 99 kg. And as you can see, we've got a lot of spikes. It goes up and down. This is why we get my clients to weigh themselves every single day, because it's so easy to misconstrue. If he weighed himself here on the 16th and then didn't weigh himself until the 19th, he'd think that he's gained a lot of body fat or gone backwards. But if you take a step back, you can clearly see that he's constantly coming down at a very stable rate each week, which means that we know he's confidently losing body fat and it's consistent. And then if for some reason this stalls and it stops moving down, because he's tracking his calories, because we're reviewing it together, we now know when to make an adjustment so we can move forward instead of plateauing and getting stuck. And as you can see, if we go through 3 months, it comes back down again. And fun caveat is his whole transformation was done entirely in a calorie deficit, right? A full-on recomposition, losing body fat, but gaining muscle at the same time. So even though he was in a calorie deficit, you'll notice that his scale weight starts to gradually bottom out. And even though he's getting leaner, he's slowly gaining muscle tissue as well. And this is because we kept the calories in a small deficit, not a massive one. So as he loses body fat, he's still gaining muscle, just to the fact that it's still got newbie gains. We're training with really good overload. It's very precise. This is why I'm talking about being precise with your numbers, because if this is all random or extreme, where you're just fasting all the time, there's no way in heck he'd gain the muscle that he did in a calorie deficit. So by being precise with your numbers, it's very easy to predictably lose body fat, but also keep muscle and performance in the gym. And in Reece's case, he was still able to gain some muscle because the protein was where it should be and the calories weren't too low too soon. Now, I'm not saying every single person's going to gain muscle in a calorie deficit. It's very genetic dependent and your experience level. If you're very new to the gym or lifting weights, you will absolutely gain muscle. If you've been doing it for 5-10 years, it's very unlikely you're going to gain muscle in a calorie deficit. Now, number 3, that is focus on one thing at a time. So many men will reach out to me and say, hey mate, I want to lose body fat, I want to gain muscle, I want to get stronger, I want to get a smaller waist, I want to get bigger arms, I want to increase my bench press, I want to get fitter, etc. And those goals are all fantastic and they all somewhat tie together. But you're not going to be able to just jump in the gym and achieve all those in one big fatal swoop. The amount of times people are telling me that they're avoiding carbs, but trying to be in a surplus, but trying to lose body fat, but gain muscle, it's too much. You're not going to do it all at once. You need calories to grow. You need a deficit to be able to obviously lose body fat. Yes, you can maybe gain a little bit of muscle in a deficit, but you're not going to get massive. So focus on one thing at a time and stick to it long enough to get the result. I get comments from people saying that they're doing a bulk for a week, then a cut for the next week, and because the scale goes up and down, they think they've managed to do it. But anytime you increase your food, your scale's going to go up. Anytime you decrease your food, your scales are going to go down. That doesn't mean muscle gain, fat loss every single time. So pick one thing at a time. Now with Reece, the most important thing is that we lost body fat. So we leaned more towards a cut. We went for a recomposition, like I said, where we worked with a smaller deficit and have an emphasis on strength gain so that we can try and gain a bit of muscle in the gym. And it worked. He lost body fat and gained muscle. But the most important thing, the main thing we were focused on was to see the body fat come down. We wanted his abs to become visible. We wanted his chest to shrink. We wanted definition in his arms. We wanted his waistline to be smaller. And that's exactly what we worked towards at one go. Now, once he's gotten lean, he can now do a reverse diet, go into a surplus and actually focus on a bulking phase whilst keeping it lean. But if you try to do everything at once, it's just not going to happen. Now, this is very important to apply to your training. So as you can see, it's predominantly resistance based. We've got a warm-up guide and then we've got his workout routine, which was back and biceps, chest and shoulders, legs, and then obviously shoulders and triceps because that area was particularly weak for him. Any plan that you can stick to long enough is going to be the best plan, but it also needs to slowly be tailored and built around you. His chest, his shoulders, his triceps were definitely weak points. Biceps, back, legs were all strong points. So we need to have an emphasis on these weaker areas. But his workout plan was predominantly focused on strength gain with progressive overload. And once that started to cap out, because what got you here won't get you there, you have to adapt and change over time. What we did was we tracked all of his workouts. We focused on one workout plan at a time, one overload metric at a time. We increased it, we tracked it, and we reviewed it. And he was able to improve and get the most out of the plan every time. So when I say focus on one thing at a time, instead of going, this plan, that plan, go for a run, go for a swim, doing everything at once, we focus on getting stronger in the gym predominantly by tracking his workouts and reviewing it each week. And then if something started to slow down or stop working, we'd have all the information to update it and adjust it. And his training plan would be updated frequently based on his progress and his goals and his results. The key thing here is we focus on one thing at a time. Now, step 4 is very, very important. Now, even if you're already in the gym doing well, you're already tracking your workouts, already tracking your calories, that's great. Step 1 complete, essentially. That's the most important thing to get done. But without step 4, you're easily going to hit a plateau and get stuck and drop the ball and maybe not even realize any errors. And that step 4 is reviewing everything weekly. So when I say reviewing everything weekly, I'm talking review your weigh-ins, review your calories and macros for the whole week, review your overload metrics in the gym, review your progress photos. And some clients, they might even review their body fat percentage and their measurements and their general steps and activity, whatever it may be. Main thing I go by is the photos because the photos don't lie. If you're seeing progress, you're going to see it on camera eventually. So right here, we've got Reece's calories, which he was tracking. And obviously, as you can see, it's not perfect. He goes over some days here and there. He's under some days are blank. And this is just the reality of it. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be roughly accountable in the majority of the time. And all the gold bars means that he's within range of his calorie target. If he's over, we can either do something about it to fix it with his training. Sometimes it's a refeed day just to top up his carbs so he has enough energy to continue his diet so he doesn't get diet fatigue. And then some days are off it. Weekends here and there, you're a human being, you're going to have socials. But as you can see, more often than not, he's bang on track with his calories. His protein's actually over most of the time. Carbs are balanced, fats are in a healthy range. We review that weekly because if the calories aren't right or his body becomes accustomed to it or the results slow down or his scale weight's not looking right or the photos just look whack, then we can easily go through this and make adjustments based on that. We can even go to the calendar and look at the actual meals he's having to make sure, 1, that it's accurate, and 2, we can make some specific suggestions that might work around him. So we review his food. So I suggest you do the same each week because this, I'll be honest with you, this is where 90% of men go wrong. They train great, they eat good foods, but when they actually add up their numbers, they forgot to use the oil that they're cooking with, or they haven't tracked the sauces they've added to their food, or their teas and coffees and sodas. And by tracking this and reviewing it weekly, it's very easy to see if something's off. We also track the workouts. Tracking your workouts and reviewing them weekly is very, very important. It's all well and good going to the gym and doing the same exercise for the same reps, the same weight, the same strategy. But if you're not overloading those movements over time, you're just not going to see the progress that you want. So by reviewing doing the workouts, we can see if anywhere is starting to stall, plateau, anything's missing, anything's lacking, if something's kind of run its course and it needs to be tweaked and updated. It just makes things a hell of a lot easier to review and understand what's actually going on. And then of course we can review the progress photos each week and make sure that the progress is showing up. So without those reviews, it's very easy to let yourself off each week. Like, oh, I'll go over on the weekend, it doesn't matter. Oh, I won't do progress photos this week, doesn't matter. Oh, I've been to the gym, so that's enough, right? That over the weeks and months is why people stall and basically hit a plateau and get nowhere. By knowing that you're doing a weekly progress photo, that your weigh-ins and food's going to be looked at and your workout's going to be reviewed, it makes you push harder, it means you hold a higher standard, and it just genuinely helps you make better decisions. So having that weekly review, be it with a coach or by yourself, absolute game changer. It really helps you stay on track, but it also helps you make adjustments so you avoid hitting plateaus. If you take two versions of you, one guy is adjusting when he needs to and the other one isn't, one's going to be light years ahead of the other. That's why my clients get such fast transformations in the grand scheme of things, because if something stops working, we adjust it and we know what to adjust because it's all tracked and logged. And then step 5. Now this is massively overlooked, even by coaches, right? And this is something that took me a long time. Like, it took me a very long time to realize, and it's very powerful and very important, and you'll probably understand what I mean when I tell you. And that is your environment and your accountability. It was very easy to go, hey mate, I just need the right plan. The amount of times someone says, hey, I need a meal plan, I need a training plan. And I'm like, okay, what's your current plan? And they show me the plan and I'm like, oh, that's actually all right. And they're like, yeah, but I'm not getting any results. And it's okay, but are you really sticking to the plan? Have you missed a day here and there? Are you messing up on the weekends? Do you have bad influences from your friends? Is your family supportive of it? I've got clients that still live with their parents, and that means that they don't actually have control over all their meals. Some of them have to rely on what they get cooked and what they get given. I have some clients that drive and travel for work, so they can only grab fast food. We've all got different circumstances when it comes to food and environment. And if you're surrounded by 5 dudes at your job and all they do is drink beer on the weekends, then it's going to be very hard for you to say no and stay out of that or avoid the junk food. Most of my friends work in bars, constantly invite me out for drinks. Sometimes, there's barbecues, there's birthdays, there's stag do's, there's always something popping up, which is why having no accountability is difficult, which is why your environment really matters. If you work in a bakery and you get free cookies, then it's going to be really hard to stay on track with your diet, right? Let's say, for example, you live with 5 dudes that are lifting weights all the time and prepping their meals. Probably going to be pretty damn easy to stay motivated in that environment. If you don't have that environment, that's why people hire coaches, to have the accountability and the support to be encouraged to stay on track. Most of my clients are living with their partner, and their partner's not necessarily on a plan, and all they want to do is go out on the weekends, or they're traveling for work and they're left to their own vices, or people are going out for drinks. Very hard to stay focused on your fitness goals if your environment is particularly tempting and you don't have any accountability. It's just too easy to let yourself off every single day, every single week, and then by the time the year is over, you realize it hits New Year's, you're like, damn, I was going to get in shape last year, but I didn't because I had a holiday, I had a barbecue, and there's always something, right? There's always something in the way. There's never going to be a plain sailing smooth path. Everyone gives themselves the benefit of the doubt. They're like, yeah, I can do this. I'll do it on my own. I thought this, even when I was 14, when I had no responsibilities and a bunch of time, and I still didn't stay on track because I still got distracted. Your mates call you up and you want to play Halo and have pizza. Cool. I'll skip the gym and have my pizza. You know what I mean? But then when I started hanging out with people that were going to the gym all the time, I ended up going 5-6 days a week. We would go to Nando's afterwards. My food got better. My motivation, my discipline got better. When we all dispersed, most people get out of shape again because they lose that support and that environment and that accountability. A lot of my clients come to me purely just because they need the accountability and structure and guidance, and having someone to say, this is what you want to do, change this, do that, do this, and they just get on there with their lives, and I help them navigate it. Now, Reece, this was a huge thing because he was very busy. He was working in a job, he tried to get himself into a different career path. All of his friends just stayed at home drinking on the weekends. There was a lot of temptations, and there was no real reason for him to get in shape, apart from the fact he was unhappy with how he looked and felt. So he really needed a lot of encouragement and guidance and support and accountability to get it done. And thankfully, that's exactly why he reached out to me and got the help that he needed. And that's why he was able to lose body fat, gain muscle. He's actually improved his career now. He's doing very well for himself. And he's managed to get himself a few dates, a few relationships, and boost his overall confidence in his life. All from having that support, accountability, and structure, and an actual strategy and game plan to get it done so he can achieve the results that he wanted. Much better than just going on the treadmill and being told no carbs. So if you want to make sure you get your numbers right, which is very important, you can download that free nutritional blueprint. If you're thinking to yourself that you'd benefit from having me help you go through this and implement the things I've broken down here, you can book a call with me one-to-one and we can have a chat and see if I can help you out with it. And if you want to save yourself 7 years of wasting time, you can watch this video here where I break down the things that I wish I knew 7 years ago when it came to fixing a skinny fat physique.